Hello, hello. Welcome to another live weekly chat here on the Alley Cat Yoga Facebook page. We are talking about why the poses aren't the practice and why your experience is more than enough for yoga teaching, for yoga, for practicing, for living life, why you are enough. My name is Ashley, so if you haven't met me before, I am one of the lead teacher trainers at Alley Cat Yoga, as well as a teacher of online yoga courses and classes. You can head over to my YouTube channel to check those out. Make sure and subscribe to that because there's always some good stuff up there. So today, let's get right to the topic. So I have a lot of little tidbits to talk about. Of course, if you have any questions, please comment them down below. And you are more than welcome to check out the teacher training. The early bird deadline has been extended just a little bit longer, just to give you another chance. I know there was a few of you wanting to snag those last 2 or 3 spots. We just got a couple more left and we're like, hey, get on that. So I'm really excited that that's coming up in like just over a month. So we've got teacher training. Okay. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be great. Dave and I had our chat this morning and talked about the upcoming itinerary and the manual and all that great stuff. Okay. So what is it that makes a yoga teacher a yoga teacher? And why is it that some yoga teachers are great and some are not? No, that's not the topic. The topic is talking about why you don't have to do, you don't have to be able to do crazy fancy poses in order to be a wonderful teacher, in order to be a great sharer of your own experience. So what makes a yoga teacher unique and special in the vast sea of so many yoga teachers is your own unique gifts, your own unique experience. And what you can share is so much more than just your physicality. Your physical body is meant to come and go. It will get injured. It will teach you things. In fact, injuries are some of the best teachers out there. So if you find yourself in a predicament where maybe you can't walk for a while, or you have an injury where you can't be on your hands, this can be one of the best times of your life to teach you what you need to know, what the universe needs to provide to you, but also to help, if you're a teacher of others, to help you in a better way to maybe communicate better or to find another way around things, to problem solve. And in our teacher training coming up, we are going to teach you to problem solve. So if you are someone who thinks that you struggle with your physical abilities, number one, attending teacher training for the intensive is going to make you stronger, regardless of what you think. If you're not that strong already, that's okay. Many yoga teachers come into their first training with some experience and they've been doing yoga for a while, and they're maybe not as strong as the teachers. Well, of course not. That's okay. And if you can't do a certain pose, or maybe you have a actual physical limitation, for me, it's my shoulder. There's some stuff I just cannot do. I just don't do them. And if there's things you can't do, don't teach them. That's all right. And if you look on Instagram and you see, a ton of yoga teachers or yoga people doing these crazy poses, that's not actually yoga. And what that's teaching is not, it's pretty, it's pretty, but what we have to offer as far as yoga teachers is so much more. And you're going to get that personal discovery, personal journey that's going to help transform your life. And that's where the true teaching happens, is once you find yoga or what it is that has changed your life, you want to share it with others. And it doesn't matter if you've mastered a handstand. It's how it's transformed your life in your own ways. And for real, once you get to that fancy pose, like you get there and the journey has just begun. So there's so much more to our yoga practice than just the poses. Your yoga brand, if you are a yoga teacher or you're thinking about becoming one, your uniqueness is your brand. You yourself are what makes the practice special. So there are tons of yoga teachers graduating every single day, but what makes you more unique is your own experience and how you can share that with others. As an example, one of my favorite mentors for business and life and fitness is Chalene Johnson. And I love listening to her podcast. I read her books or her book. I watch her on Snapchat. I'm always looking to her for business and life advice. And one of her mentors, or one person that she's learned a lot from, is Brian Tracy. So she actually has a lot of the same information. Nothing is really new. She shares a lot of the same stuff, just in a different way. And I've tried to listen to and watch Brian Tracy, and I think he's boring. I don't connect. So I love the way that she takes the information and shares it with her audience, like myself, and I'm able to connect so much better with her, with Chalene, rather than Brian Tracy. And that's just one example, but that's the same everywhere, where you have, maybe it's a yoga teacher or yoga trainer and they're training you. Of course, you don't want to just copy them completely, because you need to find your uniqueness. And you have a way of sharing the information and sharing the practice in a way that nobody else can. And there's going to be certain people that connect with you rather than others. This is very well seen in a yoga studio, where, for instance, I was teaching classes at certain times, and I attracted different people than the other classes and other teachers, just because, people like different styles and flavors, and it really depends on what you as a student are needing in that moment. So that's that. Yes, if you've had experiences with people with physical limitations, yes, of course. Some of the best teachers are, like I said, injuries and limitations can be one of your best teachers personally, but they can also help hone in your communication skills. So we've had, in my teacher training, the last teacher training I led, we had a student who was a bit older and was actually dealing with some cancer at the time, and in the middle of training ended up having his leg amputated, and he's in a wheelchair. And you can actually see that picture that I had posted just before this video, 5 minutes prior, on this page, on the Alley Cat page, and he's still in class doing participating as you would. And just showing up and being there can be uplifting and empowering. As far as teaching goes, you can use your limitations as a strength for your teaching. So how you do that is finding ways to, maybe it's incorporating a little bit more of the philosophies, or incorporating a little bit more of your experience through mindfulness and meditation, if it's something that you have physical limitations on. Let's see. I think every single teacher is going to, at one point, deal with an injury, deal with something that sets them back. And how you handle and cope with that, and how you continue your teaching is going to be a very true test of your teaching, your teaching abilities and your own practice. And I really do believe that even with limitations, you can definitely be an amazing teacher. I actually listened to a really great podcast, and if you are signed up for the email list, you'll actually get this information in a couple links. I can maybe even post it below. But there was a yoga podcast called the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, and one of the episodes was are your classes accessible, or even teaching to accessible yoga for people with limitations, and how it can be helpful to use certain words and phrases, again, things that we're going to go over in our teacher training, to help include people who aren't just that 20-something-year-old female who has been an athlete her whole life and a gymnast in her younger years. So there's ways to incorporate that into everybody's life. And that's a really, really great, was a really great podcast. So I'll link that in. And then there's, I wanted to also share a book that I had read once. It's called Warrior Pose, How Yoga Literally Saved My Life. This was a book that I gave to that student in teacher training who had lost his leg, and he loved that book, absolutely loved it. And it's about a guy who almost literally almost died and had yoga save his life. It's how yoga literally saved my life. It's a story of that. And he did eventually become a teacher and open up a studio. So his journey started with how yoga transformed him as a person. And of course he still has, I'm sure, some physical limitations. And then how that changed his life. And he teaches all those concepts, another thing he's learned. And there's so much more than just the pose. The pose is not the practice. And this is something that I feel like has been ingrained in my mind for so many years, as the poses are not the practice. It's your reactions, how you live your life, how you're doing the poses that are really what's important. Okay, I do want to share with you, let's see. Oh yeah. So I also was kind of talking about the stereotype of a yoga teacher and a yoga trainee, and how to, kind of get past that stereotype and know that you're okay exactly and you're perfect exactly as you are. You don't have to be wearing mala beads. You don't have to be drinking tea. You don't have to go to bed at 8 so you can wake up at 3 or 4 and do a super early morning practice and meditate for an hour. Like, you don't have to be peaceful all the time. In fact, most yoga teachers practice and teach yoga because they are just hot messes. They are not peaceful and serene all of the time. That's just not possible. We practice this because we know how crazy and messed up our lives are, so we know that what can be helpful. And so that stereotype of that perfect serene yogi, thinking that you have to be super fit with the yoga arms and the yoga booty and the whatever else is included in the shape and size and perfect mold. It's not a competition or a perfection journey. We're not trying to get anywhere. You have exactly what you need as you are right now. So whether you have arthritis or are dealing with a broken arm, or you are pregnant, or, I mean, that's not an injury, but you know what I mean. Like, if it doesn't seem like the best time, then, sometimes there's all sorts of little things floating up. Sometimes it probably is the best time. If it doesn't feel like the best time, it's probably time to make a change. And life happens, and that's what's going to happen even in training and even in our yoga journey. It's how we handle and cope with those life challenges. Okay, I'm going to share with you a couple of what past yoga trainees said about their training experience, okay? So this comes from the final essays of How You'll Walk the Path of Yoga. It's just a couple excerpts. So Kyla said, described as practice, yoga encourages me to grow both mentally and physically with no specific requirements from day to day. True. And then Gina said, my yoga journey has taught me about self-love and compassion. It encouraged me to dig deeper and look a little harder at myself in the mirror and find what I really needed, not just what I thought I needed. These are so great. And past trainees are like on point. Okay, then Jessica said, I love yoga because it clears my busy brain and occupies it with the asanas and the breath. I'm obsessed with balance and twists, but I really don't know much beyond this. I really didn't know much beyond this one limb of yoga when I began. So if you're unfamiliar with the limbs of yoga or the 8 limbs, there's the poses is only one of the 8. Asana is only one of the 8. There's so much more. So that's what she's referring to. Then Caitlin said, for me, walking the path of yoga has become as much about what I do off my mat as what I'm doing on my mat. I realize that yoga is more than just about asana practice. So there's a little theme here. Many yoga teachers start their yoga journey as a student in a class and think, oh, it's cool poses, it's a good workout, it's kind of relaxing, but then you dive deeper and find there's so much more to it. And the last one, Megan said, when I started taking yoga classes, I was naive to think it was just about the poses in the workout. See what I'm saying? Class by class, I realized it's much more than just a pose. It's about the asana, yes, but it's also about the breath, the mind, escaping to your mat, an intention you can take with you off the mat, community and well-being. For me, yoga has been the community I've been searching for all of these years. So, hope that was helpful, and I have so much more I can share with you. I know sometimes I can come off a little bit scattered, but I just want to share and focus in on you that becoming a yoga teacher, if it's on your list from past, present, or future, it can be something for you in this moment. It doesn't have to be something you have to wait for. We can definitely chat about it together, me and you, or Dave at Alley Cat, and we can talk about how this can work for you, because it can. And this is where a lot of people begin their journey. Of course, taking a few yoga classes is probably beneficial to starting on your yoga teacher journey, but you are going to have the most life-transforming experience you can't even imagine yet. I'm just so excited to see how our upcoming trainees' lives are different just in a few short weeks. It's amazing how that happens. It's so cool to see. And that's on a personal level. And then the confidence that you gain from a teaching level, no matter what your experience or your physical abilities are. So, all right, have a super awesome evening or day, afternoon, whatever time it is. And if you did want to check out that early bird deadline Alley Cat Yoga teacher training, feel free to get in contact with one of us lead teachers or check out the link for more information. I'll be sending an email with some of these links I shared in this talk as well. Okay, bye. Dave will be here Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time.